My name is John. I'm 18. I graduated from Elmore County High School, and this is my story. Really young, my parents got divorced, which it took a little bit of a toll on me, but it wasn't too bad. It was something they wanted me to go to therapy for, but I feel I didn't need it. But after the divorce, they always fought, always. It was no matter what, no matter if it was over the smallest thing, they would fight consistently and constantly. So I was always growing up around them fighting and fighting and fighting. So it was always really stressful to me even as a little kid. And it didn't help that my grandma was always a part of it too. Like she would always do things that were against my dad, and she wouldn't let us go see our dad. Like there was one time my dad gave us a little mini phone so we can get in contact with him, because we didn't see him a whole lot whenever the divorce happened. Every time we went to my grandma's house, she would take it and hide it somewhere so we couldn't talk to my dad. So I guess at a young age, me and my dad still didn't have the greatest relationship because we never really saw each other. We didn't talk much. I loved him, but we never really talked much. Fast forward a couple years, I was probably 15-ish. I was hanging out, and I think I had just gotten in trouble. I was just getting yelled at by something. And I went up to my stepbrother's room, and we were, they smoke all the time there. He doesn't now, which I'm proud of him for, but he used to smoke all the time. And I just took the pen he had, and I hit it. And that's where my little journey started. I was just getting high after that. And I was high everywhere. I was high at school, I was high at home, high at wrestling practice. No matter where I was high. Been high of real weed, pens, edibles. Never gone out of weed. Never wanted to. I don't even drink. I hate anything that might make you vomit. I don't like vomit. So I've always kind of just stuck to the weed, but it always gave me a sense of I just don't care, like it let me just kind of get away from the stuff that was happening at the house, because like I said, at my dad's house, it was rough for a minute. I always had to walk on eggshells no matter where I went, and no matter what I said, how I said it. If I looked at somebody wrong, I would be getting in trouble. If I was defending somebody, I would be getting in trouble. It was kind of rough. So one night somebody told my dad I was smoking, and he drug tested me. I failed the drug test. He told me I would have a month to get clean, or I'm losing my car. And that was when I had the Mustang at the time. Pretty Mustang. I miss that car. So he told me I had a month to get clean, or I was losing the car. The entire month, I didn't stop smoking, not once, not one time. I decided that, you know what, I'll take this U-Pass and I'll put it in this bottle. He will never find out. Never will. And I passed the drug test. He didn't find out until I went to go to my mom's house. I had to go get something from my mom's house, and he went to my room, and I didn't take any of the batteries or the cards out of my room, and he found them. And he flipped out. There's nothing, there's no, obviously, you don't want your son doing drugs, stuff like that, but he flipped out. Me and him got into a huge argument, a whole bunch of bad things said, a whole bunch of really hurtful things were said, things nobody meant, just out of anger, it was a really rough. So randomly, we got done fighting, and I walked out, grabbed my stuff, walked out the house, started walking up the road. I was leaving. My mom came and picked me up 2 a.m. in the morning. She was always on call, no matter what. If I was at my dad's house, she'd be there, She came pick me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have any of my gaming stuff. I had nothing. I mean, all I had was some clothes. Because back then he was the type, if he bought it and we get into a fight, he is staying there. Like, he owns it. That's that, you know. So she came pick me up 2 o'clock. I didn't have much. I had no gaming supplies, no phone, barely any clothes. I was at my mom's house, not doing nothing. I was worried about how I was going to get to work, how I was going to get to school. I didn't know how I was going to get anywhere. I didn't have anything to get anywhere. Didn't have a car. Wasn't going to be able to tell people if I was late, nothing like that. Anyways, from that day, the smoking just kept getting worse. It got more frequent. I used to do it. I mean, it was a lot every day when I used to. Then I moved out of my dad's house into my mom's house, and it was way more frequent. I mean, it was like 5 minutes. I was probably hitting that pen every 5-10 minutes. I was trying to get higher than I already was. And then I would like go hit the pen, then go outside and smoke a blunt. It was getting bad, like really bad. Brody showed me this church, and as much as it helped out, like with me and my dad's problems, I was still smoking. And I felt that the smoking was the only way I could get out of facing me and my dad's issues, or like not having to deal with the stress of being around the environment I was in. I told people I didn't use it as a crutch, but I did. And there's no there's no neglecting that. It was definitely a crutch whenever I was using it. Then one Sunday morning, I came and I watched my dad get baptized because of the freedom. And me and my dad, we've been talking, and I've seen my dad do a complete 180. He was not the same person he is today. He was real angry, you know. If it wasn't his way, it wasn't right. You know, nobody's got to have a thought but him. Real angry person, real kind of. I love my dad. Don't get me wrong. He was kind of a narcissist when I was younger. Just, you know, completely different person. You know, you see my dad now. He's full of happiness. You know, full of light. You know, he's always greeting people. Always got that big smile on his face. You know, just like the warmest person that I know at this moment. You know. So after he got baptized, me and him started talking more. And that's when I realized that, you know, this wasn't right for me. This is not where I was supposed to be going. You know, I'm going down a really bad path. And I think after I think it was a youth night one night, I think Kyle Holton had just got done preaching about his addictions and getting out of stuff. I sat outside with him, my dad, and Brody, and I bawled about how I wanted to get out of it, but I didn't have the strength to do it. I couldn't stop smoking. I didn't have the strength to do it. I couldn't. It was something, you know, people say weed isn't addictive. There's nothing in it that makes it addictive, but the feeling of it is the most addictive thing you can get into. It changes your thought process completely, you know. But I sat out there and I was bawling for like probably an hour and a half. But him, Kyle, my dad, and Brody all sat out there with me, and they kept telling me verses, and I can't remember which one they said to me. I'd have to pull it up, but it hit. It really did, and that night is when I made the decision to not smoke again, and My dad, after that night, every single day, probably around like 4 or 5 o'clock, he would call me and he'd check up on me about the whole quitting weed and everything like that. Every single time. Didn't miss a day. And that whole process, it has strengthened me and my dad's relationship. Me and my dad, as of right now, are the closest we have ever been in our lives, and it is all thanks to God in this church. If it were not for the simple fact that he found this freedom group and that he found the Lord, I can't say me and him would have ever talked again. That bad. That's how bad that fight was. I can't say me and him would have ever talked again, and that's something I would have hated. Because me and him are real stubborn. If neither of us feel we're in the wrong, we're not gonna say nothing. We're not gonna apologize, nothing. Real stubborn people. But if it weren't for us sitting here that night, and if it weren't for the change I saw him go through, I would have never been able to believe that I could have done it. Never. I would probably still be high to this day, and I probably wouldn't be as close to God as I am. I wouldn't be up here every Wednesday, Sunday. I wouldn't be in my Bible whenever I'm at home. I wouldn't. That's why I missed. I was absent from a lot of church days, like a lot of Wednesdays and Sundays. And, I always had the excuse that I was at work. I didn't have to work. I just didn't come. I didn't feel like coming. I was getting lazy, which was the weed. I didn't feel like going. The devil had a hold of me. It did. But then there was that one night. That's a night I'll never forget. It was the night me and my dad finally reunited as, father and son. We're the closest we've ever been in our lives. God gave me he gave me like a bubble, he gave me protection. He gave me the strength to say, no, I don't want it. I was offered it several times. And not once have I been like, yeah, give me, God has given me the strength to say no to it. It was a rough 2 weeks. Because, it takes 2 weeks for your brain to change its anatomy, so you don't want the craving anymore or whatnot. It was a rough 2 weeks. I was staying up all night. I couldn't sleep. I was always irritated and angry because, I was going through withdrawals. I was always irritated. I couldn't sleep at all. There were some nights I would be up all night and have to go to work at 5:30. It was be work from 5:30 all the way until like 4. It was rough. I was just always irritated. My mind was always cloudy, I always felt dizzy, It was a rough 2 weeks, but what helped was the strength that God gave me to get past it, the perseverance he gave me, and then my dad would call me every single day to be like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? How's the quitting going? I was always had that person to be there or be there and be like, hey, no. Just want to make sure I was okay, I didn't have that a lot growing up. I did. Don't get me wrong, they were always there if I needed them. But when it came down to doing certain things like weed or I don't know if I was an alcoholic, and it would be when I was a younger kid, they wouldn't have done that. They just wanted me to quit, and they wanted me to do it on my own, and that's, when it comes down to stuff like that, I have a really hard time doing that stuff on my own. I can't. But that's where God comes in. That's where he helped me out. Him and my dad, no matter what, they were always by my side, and they were helping me through it. No, if I wanted to do it again, I would sit down and I would pray, and the feeling of wanting to do it again, it would dissipate. It was there, but it would dissipate. It would dull down, and he gave me the strength to get through it and the perseverance. He gave me the patience for it.
But man, I'm just sitting here feeling man. the multitude of people that have gone through what you go through, going through what you go through. You know, like actively
Right.
in this and can't quit. And that's crazy because there's so many people right now that are in what you're doing.
Right.
Because it's everywhere. Pins.
Oh yeah, it's in every gas station you can find.
And that's just crazy. So, since that moment, have you found it easier now to not go back? Is it even a thought anymore?
It can be. If I'm around it, you know, I see it or like it hits my nose, I can, you know, like I can have a thought like, oh, I kind of want to hit that. But when those times comes around, I kind of just try to distance myself from it. Like I just let them do them, but I'll back up, you know, a couple feet and be like, yeah, please just, or you know. A lot of people are really respectable or they respect it. I know there's a lot of people that I've hang around that went and smoked, and I was like, hey, can you not do that around me? And you know, they would go out somewhere else or blow it a different direction, or you know, kind of trying to distance themselves from me, which is great. I'm glad that I have, you know, people that can do that. You know, I wish they didn't smoke, but you know, I'm glad that they understand my, you know, my want my want to not be high. You know, I have thoughts of wanting it sometimes, but like I said, God's given me the strength to just say no. If it were a year ago, I'd have been all over it. You know, I've been asking them to hit it. You know, but ever since that night, I've never not had the strength just to say no. You know.
That's where it all changed.
That's where it all changed. You know, seeing my dad go through the stuff he went through and coming out how he did. You know, just the change of, because I grew up with Kyle too. He was my neighbor. You know, I was across the street whenever this stuff happened to his parents. Seeing the change Kyle has gone through, you know, just seeing the change that roughly my whole family's gone through it's changed my perspective on a lot of things, and it's shown me that no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through, God will be there, and He'll make you into who He wants you to be. You know, it was something I had a hard time believing when I was first coming. You know, I was around churches when I was growing up, but I was never like really into one. I never really liked any of the churches we went to. When Brody brought me to this church for the first time, I liked it, but I didn't. Like, I was trying to bring as many people as I could. I wanted people to be saved and wanted people to find God, but I couldn't. You know, I felt like He didn't want me. You know, He didn't. I wasn't good enough. You know, like I wasn't worthy enough, and I'm still not worthy enough. But in His eyes, that doesn't matter. I will always be good enough. I always wanted people to be saved. You know, I always wanted them to find God, and I started bringing people to the church so they could. But I always felt like I couldn't. No matter what, I couldn't focus on it. I couldn't really dial in on God. And so that night, I mean, that night's when literally almost everything changed. My dreams changed. My dreams and aspirations changed. I mean, my want and my will to be able to do certain things changed. My relationship with my dad changed. My relationship with God changed that night. My most important thing was talking to somebody about it. Have a conversation with somebody, one of your closest friends. I'm sure Adam would do it. I'll do it. Come talk to me about it. You know, I've been there. You could probably talk to my dad about it. I mean, he was my, I wouldn't say savior, but he was my person that I would 100% always go to talk to about something if I needed help. Just find somebody to talk to about it. Whether you think they don't want to listen to it, 9 times out of 10 they will. If they're not going to sit there and help you through something that you're struggling to go through, they are not your real friends. You've got to find better people to hang around. Now and not only that, if you're around people who are making you do that, if you're wanting to get out of it, but you're around people who are wanting you to smoke every day, you gotta find somewhere else to go, I mean, it's something that you have to stop being around in order to get out of, because it's a potent.
Good. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. It's a really potent smell. It's not hard to get away from. Try to find somebody to talk to about it. I guarantee you there's people in this church that can help you out with it. I can. My homeboy Mikey can. I'm sure Adam would love to. My dad would. Robert, he's be out there somewhere. Big guy. You'll see him. Hard to miss. Not only that, you gotta pray a lot. I had to pray a lot to try to get myself the strength and the perseverance to get through it. It was not easy. It's gonna be a hard 2 weeks. It's gonna be rough. You're not gonna be able to sleep much. You're gonna be pretty irritated. Your head's gonna be cloudy and foggy. You're not gonna be able to really think. You've got to pray. They got me through it as much as the help of my dad did. You just gotta pray for patience, pray for the perseverance. Kind of have God help you more than anything. As much as they might not be 100% fully in, but you could be the worst person. You pray to God, and He will help. He'll put you through the trials. He will, but He will help.